Recording in progress. All right. Hello, guys. How are we doing today?
Doing so
Hmm.
presentation.
What was that? If I should take your answer on behalf of the class, that means we're all tired and beat. Is that so? So, let's see. I have 14 people here. Okay, cool. No, actually, no. I have like 12. Um, well, first thing, is everybody in the class aware of us starting at 4? Does it clash with anybody else's schedule? Can anybody confirm this?
Sure, no one said anything about it clashing, but I think some students just forgot that it started at 4, seeing as it was at 5 on their timetable. They forgot that the lecture was moved to today.
They, oh, no, hold on, repeat that last part again for me. You say, who forgot?
I think some persons just forgot that it starts at 4 and not 5.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Right. But the reason that we want to start at 4 is because we currently have a challenge with the other lecturer coming on for your practical classes, right? So that's why we're kind of doubling up on the lecture classes, which is based on my schedule. So that still hasn't gotten resolved yet. So we're still working with the 4. Plus, guess what? At 4 o'clock when we're done here, it isn't nighttime, right? So that's also a great benefit. So do you guys have a class group that you can let them know? I don't imagine that today's class will be long, based on the nature of what we're going to do. So that's good news, right? But I figure rather than going back to 5, we'll just keep it at 4 to keep things consistent. And it's always good to not be in class until night, right? So can you guys post that in your group? All right. So, you know what? There is an important question to ask. Does do we have any members here from topic 1, which would be Tara and Janelle? No, it don't look so. What about topic 2, which is Leandra? And what's that topic 2 again? Oh, hold on. All right, the other Tara, which is Tara Fisher. But none of the Taras are here. Okay. All right. Who do we have here? We have let's see. Topic 3. Okay. Now, this is the reason why I'm asking, right? the sequence of how we're going to do things for the presentation is we want to do where we have a discussion and we want to just have maybe just a short discussion amongst us and the class about each topic, and then that will get the group members who have that topic heading in the right direction, right? And then in 2 weeks' time, we will hear that topic. So we want there to be like a 2 weeks gap where we have a discussion, then a presentation, discussion, then presentation, all right? So, so what would happen is that we would try to take care of having 1 or 2 discussions, and then the presentation would come in the lecture class 2 weeks after, right? And I think 2 weeks is good enough for you guys to do a short presentation. That's usually the time. Remember, we have 10 presentations to go through, and we have to remember that we hold each other's fate in our hands, because everybody has 5% of their 15% presentation grade that's tied up in answering those questions that each group would ask, right? Everybody here remembers the procedure for the presentation?
Not sure I do, sir.
You know what? I suddenly can't remember myself. Maurice, can you remind me what's the procedure for the presentation? The class presentation.
I think we should come up with 10 questions and then we submit them to you. After we present, you're gonna, I guess, dash those questions out to the other group and let them answer. A representative supposed to answer from each group, and then we get the girl to their member.
All right, cool, good answer. So let's bring up the class website here so we can just go through it quickly, right? So that's a quick refresher for everyone, because this is important because it is a decent portion of your grades, right? So, all right, so what we have is, there we go. Too, right? So when you go to the class website, if you look under presentation assessment, which is 15%, right? If we click on that, we get the handout, and hopefully remember how this handout works, right? So everybody has a topic. Everybody selected their topic last week. I got some messages for some persons that needed to go into groups. So we're going to randomize those people, and just whatever group they get randomly, they will go into that group, right? So there are 10 topics, and each group have about 2 to 4 people usually, and everybody's going to do a presentation throughout the semester, right? So in total there are 10 groups. Each group will submit 9 questions based on their topic, and a representative from every other group will need to answer just 1 of the 9, right? Every question you answer goes towards 5% of your grade, right? And the other 10% is based on, how was the presentation, right? How was the research of the topic? What were the different topics? What was the participation of the group members? What was the visual support? Do you guys have images and demonstrations to support? What relevance did you discuss in the presentation to the module? Things like that, right? So that is going to be the majority of your presentation grade. However, 5% will be based on the questions that you answer from each group. So naturally, you have to be present at each other's presentation in order to answer the questions, right? If you are not, if a representative from your group is not there, then that question is lost and you would have lost 0.5, if not 0.25, right, of your 15%. All right, so is this clear? Everybody understands this?
Yes, sir. Understood.
All right, you have answered on behalf of the class. Okay, good. Now, what we're going to do is we want to touch 2 topics today, and then in 2 weeks' time, that would be the topic that presents, right? And that's how we kind of want to do it, so I don't throw you in the deep end. So I was hoping that topic 1 and 2, or persons from topic 1 and 2 would be here to benefit from topic 1 and 2 discussion. I'm looking back at my class list to see. No, I don't see anybody from. Oh, Janelle, you're from topic 1.
Hi, sir.
All right, so you have 1 representative from topic 1. What about topic 2? Let's take a quick look at that mirror board. Right, so topic 2. So Tara and Maken, not here as yet. Okay, so do we have the class rep in the class? Do we?
Hi, sir. I am a class.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, see if you. Well, have you sent out a message already, just to make sure everybody is on the same page of being here at 4?
Yes, sir. The message was sent out from before, but I'll send another one.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, guys. So, before I go into having our discussion, right? We are currently also working on our major project. So persons should be submitting their terrain along with their CAD drawing, right? Their design sketch and their drawings, right? So the terrain was a part of last week's class activity. So if I scroll to the class website, there we go. For those of you who submitted, you can check your grades. Is this linked up? Yes, it is linked up, right? So this is where you can go to check your grades. There's a check grades button right here on the class website. When you go there, well, you can let me know if you don't see your percentage there for participating, right? But remember how class participation works. We talk about this at the beginning of the class. We're going to have some activities that's just randomly distributed throughout the course. You take place in these activities, it counts towards your participation grade. All right, so participation is not being present in Zoom. It is about proving that you had participated in particular activities throughout the module, right? So last week we did a little activity with the terrain drawing, and a couple of people did it. Hopefully, I think most of the class, and you guys submitted it. this checkpoint is due if you need to find when is the due date of the checkpoint. Atkinson, can you remind me? How do I know when checkpoint 1 is due?
Sir, it's on the website at the top, right there.
There we go, right? So if you click on checkpoint 1, we can see here that checkpoint 1 is due all the way in September 11. What's the checkpoint 2 is? Oh, I thought it was more time than that, but I guess it was
So I look, sorry, hearing me, sir?
yeah, man, I'm hearing you.
I look in and I see that some of the grades are missing. However, with the Google Forms, like it wasn't allowing us to submit more than one document. So I ended up submitting 3 times. However, I seen some missing grades. So
Oh yeah,
how's that gonna work, sir?
you're supposed to merge everything into one, into one document and send. But it's okay if you send 3 times. It's okay. I still mark them nevertheless. Let me make sure that these deadlines are reflecting the up-to-date one. 3 a.m.
Sir, asking for a friend. Some people, just really joining the class and think, can they still submit the first set of sketches and stuff and receive a grade?
But most definitely they can. However, it will be at a cost. And we don't deal with financial currency in our module, right? So it will be at a cost. But hold on, let me double check to make sure. So yeah, so checkpoint 1 is with the schematic drawings is due on the 11th. However, part of checkpoint 1 was done as a class activity as well. And then checkpoint 2 now is going to be due on the 25th. Oh, that was the one on the 25th, right? That is checkpoint 2. All right. Now, the great thing about this is that on the handout, let's head back to the website here. If we look on the handout, there are some tutorials that are available, right? And now that we're moving in checkpoint 2, we want to have just a quick kind of discussion on the foundations, right? Checkpoint 2 requires that we do a foundation and a terrain drawing, right? Now, if you look on the mirror board, there we go, you will see that I placed some nice reference material. Most of these are screen captures from the Construction Illustrated, right? Which most of you should know about that book. It's on the book list for recommended reading, and it's perhaps a book that you have used, especially during Design Studio, to remind you guys of how different joints work, foundations, what certain detail looks like. Everybody familiar with this book, right?
Yes, sir.
I figure that yes is for everybody, right? So when you're putting the foundation together, I expect you to keep these approaches in mind, right? it is not necessary for you to draw nuts and bolts and screws and nails, or what I would say, it is not necessary to model them, most definitely not, right? But things like maybe representing how they work. So for example, in this case, where's my pen? In this case, we would perhaps need to model a section like this. Right? And then we would model another section that looks like this. Now, we don't need to model, for example, the holes that are represented here, nor do we need to necessarily model like the angle plates, right? Those are not necessary to create, right? However, the model that is created must represent the logical way how these elements work, all right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tackle this in Monday's class, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do your practical class on Monday, and then on Monday we're going to come again for another in-class activity. So I want you guys to come with your Revit ready. We will also try to squeeze in some modeling in 3ds Max, but I figure most persons will be perhaps modeling in Revit, but every year there are persons that ask, you know, especially for terrain and for organic objects, for a way that it can be done in a program that gives you more freedom and flexibility, right? I can't wait until which topic was it again? I believe it was topic 3. Topic 3 should educate us about the differences between some of these software, right? So I'm looking forward. Joel and Theodore, are you guys here? No, I'm not yet. Okay. Well, anyway. Oh, it's because okay, sorry, right. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to your topic for you to educate the class about some of this software, right? So I'm giving you guys a heads up for that modeling session that we will do on Monday. Now, you don't have to, well, to necessarily wait. I mean, the clock technically starts ticking from today in terms of checkpoint 2. Some of us already know how to use Revit and stuff like that. However, we will do an in-class activity to kind of get everybody going. And if I look on the calendar here, we can see that that one is due on the 24th. Let's take a look here. On the 25th, right, which is the Sunday, right? Good. So for those of you who want to get a head start, that's fine. We'll do a little in-class activity on Monday. Now the good news is that the handout does have some tutorials, particularly this one about creating the foundation and floorboards, right? Oops. Yes, those are ads. So These are tutorials that were created specifically for this module. I did create these tutorials as well, and I actually did it using the actual project. So this project was actually my project that I did, which mimics the same project that you are actually doing here, right? And it kind of goes through how to create those floorboards. All right. All right, great. Now, what we're going to do on Monday, though, in class is the terrain, right? There isn't a 3D creating tutorial that is made yet. So this will be our next kind of in-class activity. And then some of you who want to use 3D Max to do your terrain, you can, because there's some advantages in using 3ds Max. Some persons would create their terrain in Revit and then take it into 3ds Max and make it a little nicer. So we're going to be looking at how we can do that as well. All right. All right. Okay. Let's open up. Okay, now for those of you who want to get going on your model, right? You need to have your schematic drawings already completed, because it will help to answer some of the questions that you need to know to create your foundation, right? Remember, checkpoint 2, all that is required is the building foundation and floor structure, meaning the beams, the joists, the tongue and groove floorboards. That is all that's needed. You don't need to start creating the walls and none of that yet. And here's a quick example of what it should look like. I mean, that's straightforward. So these are the two things that are going to be required. Now, what I will do is to get you going on using Revit to start creating your foundation. And then you can use the tutorial videos to guide you going along. All right. Any questions so far? Nope.
Sir, for the persons that weren't placed in groups, will you be the one that put in us in groups, or we need to give you a list of the persons that weren't put in a group?
Okay. The persons that were not placed in groups are going to be randomly divided into groups. So unfortunately, your luck will determine which groups you get to choose, right? It's only fair because the persons who did select groups, they did not know what the topics were. All they got was a little hint at the top, and they had to choose the topic. So technically they didn't know either, you know, but I mean, you know, some people kind of figured it out. I think, was it Tara or Janelle that figured out that, hey, this is a V-Ray icon, right? So it had something to do with rendering, and then the topic was revealed, and that's the kind of activity that we did. All right, so give me the names of the persons who are not in. Anybody here who are not in groups? Can you raise your hands? Oh, nobody? Oh, one person? Okay, cool. Just one person?
Or Kiana. There are 3 persons are there in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yes. Let's put it in the chat. That makes it easy. All right. Come on. All right. Let me just get this random thing going. What am I going to use? I think I'm going to use Firefox. That would make life easy. And all right. I'm sorry, I'm just getting your stuff ready, guys. Just give me a minute here. All right. Just writing out these topics. All right, so we have topic 1, topic 2, and topic 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Let me grab the names now. Okay, so so Lewis, Dwyer, Adams, Dante, and Rodan. Am I right? Reeves and Atkinson. Hold on, is Atkinson in a group? Or did I miss it? Alright guys, so I just need you to confirm with me. These are the persons that are not in groups. Please confirm if that is so. Is that so? Atkinson? Confirm?
Good evening, sir. Yes, I am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, these are the persons. Okay. All right, no problem. Now, in the spirit of being fair, I'm going to just quickly randomly put you in groups, and it will be decided not by me because that would be a little bit maybe biased. So I will just randomize you right here. That sounds fair, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what I'll do, I will just go according to the list that I see here. So the first person on this list, let's go here. All right, let's do this quickly. So Atkinson. And you are in group 10. All is fair, Atkinson, right? Do you know what group 10 is?
No, sir, but I'll check it out. Thank you.
All right, just take a quick look on the mirror board and you will see it. All right. This is no fun if we don't have some sound. So we're gonna just enable the sound. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay, Atkinson. So group 10, which is explore 8 types of architectural visualization techniques and how they're used in architecture. So for example, photorealistic hybrid images and stuff like that. All right. Now we're gonna talk about this well, one day in the week, so stay tuned. You never know when it will be your group discussion, and it will definitely help you in your presentation. So I'm gonna put your name here, and then you will just drop your photo in that box for group 10. All right. Next on the list, so I'm gonna remove group 10 because I don't want multiple people ending up going in one group. So group 10 is out. Not to worry, we have 7 people here or 6 remaining. All right, Reeves. And Reeves go in group 9. Wow. It almost seems like it was planned, but you know it's not because I'm not the one controlling the wheel, right? So Reeves, you are in group 9. Reeves, you here?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you will be looking to discuss the use of 3D modeling in fractal architecture. All right. Do you know what fractal architecture is?
No, sir, but I'll figure it out.
All right, cool. That's what we want to hear. All right. I'm eager to learn that as well. All right. Next on the list, we have Lewis. All right. I wonder if Lewis is going to get topic 8. Then I would know that this system is rigged, but I hope it's not. So it looks like topic 5. All right, Lewis, you here?
Yes, sir.
Right, a comparison of 3D digital models and physical models in architectural design, right? Do you love to make physical models?
No. No, sir.
Well, you'll be looking and comparing physical versus digital models, right? So you can voice your opinions and concerns in your presentation, right? I'm sure the lecturers want to see you make physical models. So that will be an interesting conversation. All right, next on the list we have Cavern. All right, here we go.
Tavani, sir.
Say again?
Tavani.
Oh. No. Sorry, I meant Dwyer. That is who is next on the list. So Dwyer would go in group number 4. Dwyer, are you here? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes, sir.
All right, Dwyer. Right. So you're in group number 4, Dwyer. So in your group, you'd be looking at how rapid prototyping is used in schools of architecture, right? So just now, Louis said that why she don't like making physical models, but if we could print physical models, that would be great, right? So you will be looking at how we can use rapid prototyping, which is like 3D printers, in architectural schools, all right? Along with Monique and Kings. How does that sound?
Yes, sir, that's good.
All right, I hear you bursting with enthusiasm. All right, Adams, here we go again. Let's see. I think Adams is going to get topic 3. All right. All right, Adams, and your topic is a comparative analysis between SketchUp, 3D Studio Max, and Blender. What do you think of that?
Go again, sir. I didn't hear that.
Your topic 3, a comparative analysis between SketchUp, 3D Studio Max, and Blender. All right. Can you use any other programs on that list?
Like a SketchUp.
I think a SketchUp. All right, good.
Excuse
Yeah?
me, sir. If he's inclined, could we switch? If
So you want
When
to
I get
arrange a
mine.
trade?
if he's okay with it.
All right. Adams, do you want to trade groups with hold on, who just said that?
So it's Dante. I haven't been given one yet.
Oh, but you can't trade and you don't know how much money you have. That wouldn't be wise. But I'll leave that choice up to Dwyer. Do you want to trade with whatever Dante would get for his group? Or the question should be, Dante, are you sure you want to trade with whatever you get with Dwyer?
Yes, sir. I was already interested in that topic, and I use all 3
see.
programs.
All right, Dwyer. So you just need to say the word, all right? All right, so we're getting down to your name. All right. And wrote on it. Oh, topic 6. I thought it would have been topic. Hold on. Topic 2. Oh, topic 2. Right. Rodan, you here? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Rodan, you are in topic 2. So, do you know what is real time and offline rendering? You familiar with that topic?
No, sir.
All right, then you shall have some fun with Tara Fisher, right? All right, nothing like a new topic to be exciting. All right, and Dante, the person who wants to trade, let's see what you will be trading. If Dwyer agrees, it looks like you'll be trading topic 7, which is what are the differences between presentation drawings, design drawings, and construction drawings? Dwyer, do you want to trade with him? Speak now, quickly.
I said not Dwyer, it's Adams.
Oh, it's Adams. Oh, sorry, it's Adams. Adams had topic 3. Adams, do you want to trade? Talk quickly. Going once.
Not really, sir, but
Right.
you can just add him to the group, sir.
It's fine. It can stay as is now then, because this topic is okay as well.
Oh, so now you change your mind. I tell you. You're trading and you don't know what topic you get to. All right, moving on. So now everybody is in groups. I can delete that, and all the groups are confirmed. All right. So what we will be doing today now is we'll be going into checkpoint 2, which will be to build a foundation. And we're going to try to squeeze in some discussions for the persons that are doing. Let's see, what will we do today? I see Tara is here. Yes, Tara Thomas is here. And Janelle is here. That's good. And I know that Rodan is here. What about Tara Fisher?
Here, sir.
All right, lovely. All right, so it is now 5 o'clock. So we're just going to do a little discussion on this, and then we're going to spend a couple minutes to get you on the right track to do the foundation. Now, the foundation is not an in-class activity, so don't worry. But guys, you need to look out for those in-class activities, right? I'm not going to tell you when they will be. They will just happen, right? Ad hoc. And anytime you do the in-class activity, it will go towards your participation grade. All right, everybody understand that? You have been warned again. All right. So I don't want you to decide that, boy, I'll go class today, and then you hear that there's an in-class activity. I'm not spiting you. They just randomly happen, like the weather, right? Okay, so the first presentations that we're going to have. Remember, everybody have like 2 weeks from the discussion. Check this tomorrow.
The time is 6 p.m.
Wow. Right, sorry about that. All right. So the topic that we're going to discuss is going to be types of 3D modeling. All right. I know that this is topic 1's group discussion. However, this class discussion is for everybody, right? Remember, you're all going to be given some questions by Tara and Janelle, so you want to be familiar with the topic. So I'm going to throw this question out. What do you guys think are types of 3D modeling techniques? Any ideas? What is a modeling technique? What do we think it is? Like, oh, this is Tara's topic. I'm going to throw that question out to you first. It's only fair. What do you think it is? I know you don't start doing the research yet, and none of us have started. But so what do you think this topic is? Give me 1 second. Where is... All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. It was that urgent call, it seems. Right, so where are we? Tara, you're just about to tell us what do you think a rendering technique, a modeling technique is.
So could it be like a form of representation of a design using 3D softwares?
Okay, all right. Now, I can pick certain parts of your answer that would be correct, right? And certain parts is a bit wide, right? Now, well, let me throw it out first. Anybody else? What do you think a 3D modeling technique is?
Recording in progress.
Nobody wants to try? All right, I'm not going to call on anybody else. Now, here's the thing. In every software that you guys use, right? Some of you use SketchUp. Some persons use Revit. I believe some use ArchiCAD. Those are the standard ones. Is there anybody that uses, let's see if there's any non-standard. I had some students one time that use Blender. Anybody here that uses Blender?
I'm just starting to learn it.
Oh, cool. That's interesting. Maybe you should have picked topic 3, but then you wouldn't have known because all you got was a hint, right? Oh, wait a minute. I just realized that my camera is off. Hold on a sec. Give me 1 sec. Just let me look on it to see. All right, there we go. Right. So whenever you use any of these programs, right, the way that you create stuff, they're all different. So for example, for those of you that's using, for example, Revit, how do you create walls? How do you create windows? How do you create the objects that you're about to create for your major project? They are all done using different tools. So for example, you might use Revit to do a wall tool or an extrusion. The process of doing an extrusion is a technique, right? And you use these different techniques to build different objects. So for example, like this program, this is 3ds Max, and just give it a while to kind of settle in. There we go. Right. And the way in which you, for example, draw a shape, right, if I needed to draw a wall, well, this is a wall, and the technique that I'm using is using parameters, because I can change the width of the wall and the height of the wall and that kind of stuff. Well, I'm actually modifying a box. So this is actually a box, and I'm making the box look like a wall. But then there are other ways that you can do it. So for example, I could use a rectangle, and then I could extrude. Now this is not a tutorial on using 3D Max, but these two objects look the same. These two objects look the same, but two different techniques were used to create them. If I was in Revit, for example, and I open a new drawing here, then the technique in which Revit creates a wall is different than the technique that I use in Max. But in Max, I could use two different techniques. One of them could be taking a box and, you know, squashing it into a wall, and the other one is that I drew a shape and extruded it. Yet still, in a program like Revit, there is a tool called Wall that I can use, and I can draw a wall, right? And that's what that wall looks like in 3D, right? So this is the same wall, but I'm using different techniques. Now, the technique that I use in Revit, which is a wall tool, doesn't exist in Max. But then the technique that I use, which is extrude, that technique also exists in Revit. So what am I getting at? Different programs allow you to use different techniques to create different objects, right? And I'm going to open one of these here. I'm going to show you this cool model that I did some years ago using a modeling technique. I don't know if it will open because it's kind of old, but we shall see. All right. So in the meantime, let's head back to, let's head back to the mirror board, right? So the types of modeling techniques, that is what Tara and Janelle, you're going to be looking into, right? What type of techniques exist out there? The fact that I went into a program and created an extrusion, you know, that is a technique actually. I'm not going to tell you what it's called because, you know, you guys need to figure that out, right? Okay, so let's just maximize this. Yeah, right. Now, one thing that you have to be aware of, by the way, Tara and Janelle, you guys taking notes, right? Because this is your topic, right? Are you there?
Yes.
All right, good. Then the other members of the class, you guys need to be noticing as well, because they're going to ask you questions, right? So this is just to be aware, and this is just some tips I'm giving you for your presentation. And I have tips for everybody, so don't worry. I'm not just going to do this for one topic, right? Beware, there are different types of modeling. I mean, literally, I know that we like to just type a word into Google and just grab the first thing that it says. But if modeling, there are different types of modeling. There's fashion modeling, there's data modeling, there's 3D modeling. There's probably other modeling that I don't know about. So when you're digging into information, you're going to want to make sure that the conversation is talking about 3D modeling, right? And not another type of modeling, right? So you could argue that there are as many modeling techniques as there are modeling tools, right? And this is perhaps one of the things that you will find. You're not going to say, oh, there exists 4 techniques. And everybody who does 3D modeling, they do one of these 4 techniques. That's not how it works. I could come up with a technique and I could say, you know what, this technique is Brian's technique. And then maybe it gets really famous and then everybody in the world starts saying, hey, how are you going to model this thing? Are you going to use Brian's technique? Right? So you follow me? So when you are looking up techniques, you need to look into them. And if you realize that, oh, wait, these 2 things are talking about the same thing, right? Don't just take the first word that it says. Don't just take the fact that something says, oh, there are 3 types of modeling, and you decide that there are 3 types of modeling. The truth is that there are many types, and some of them have names that are perhaps made up. You know, there's no organizational body or government that says there is only 1 type or 2 types of modeling. All right. So that is something that you want to look out for. And I give you one example, right? When you are building something in Revit, it before there was Revit, and you know, when there was like when the wall tool came in AutoCAD, that was a big thing. But that used to be known, some persons call it CAD modeling. And they call it CAD modeling because it was modeled in AutoCAD. But then persons would also refer to it as parametric modeling. All right, and what is parametric modeling? I give you just a little giveaway. It is modeling using parameters, right? Height, width, thickness, things like that. Nowadays, you hear things that's called BIM modeling, right? You guys are going to do a course called BIM next year, and you're going to do what's called BIM modeling. But BIM modeling didn't always exist, right? BIM is a relatively new concept. And some persons just say, you know what, if you're modeling houses and buildings, it's called architectural modeling. You know, so I mean, these are some terms that any one of them will give you different, you know, when you look at them, you realize, hey, they're kind of talking about the same thing. So I need you guys to decide on, to identify, like, is it that these type of modeling fall under one type, or the general theory of them are all similar? They just vary slightly. You know, this is the things that I expect you guys to look into. So, what do you guys think are some of the topics that you should look into for 3D modeling? All right. This can be anybody in the class, but particularly topic 1 persons. Like, where do you think you should start?
So like start at BIM.
Start at what? Like looking into what is BIM modeling?
Yes.
All right, cool. Anybody else?
So I think the start should be the definition of 3D modeling, and then you can move forward with the types and the techniques.
I like that. So all right, cool. So definition of what? Of a modeling technique. How about that? You know, what is a modeling technique? And definitely, right, then you look into the types of modeling, right? And I'm just kind of having an idea of where your mindset is. Types of modeling. And remember, when you look at types of modeling, you're going to find many, many different types. So perhaps what I would try to do is group them, group or categorize the types of modeling. because that will help you. You know, if you find 15 different types of modeling, maybe it's not really 15, maybe 5 of them really talking about the same thing, but the name has evolved over time. Right? Anything else, guys? As we're about to come off of this topic, I want to try to squeeze in 2 today. What other area do you think you should look into for the topic of what are the types of 3D modeling techniques and their application in architecture?
Can't think of it anymore, right?
Say again?
But I can't think of it anymore off the top of my head.
Okay, I didn't get. It sounded a bit muffled.
I can't think of any more off my head now.
So
What?
images of the different modeling type techniques could also be
that's a good one. You could look into showing or demonstrating show the various modeling techniques, right? But then don't forget the part of the that is in the question itself. If you look back at the question and it says and its applications in architecture, right? So what does that mean? What would you want to look up?
So how they are used?
Exactamundo. How it's used in architecture, right? Maybe the benefits to architecture and how it's used. All right. And there is one more that I think you should consider, which is that has to do with the software. Remember that I just showed you an example of the software just now. Different software have different modeling techniques, right? Some allow you to extrude, some have a wall tool, stuff like that. So you could probably look at what modeling techniques the software that you use offer. Like maybe you could look at an example, like what modeling techniques does Revit offer? You know, maybe you should look in a program that you use yourself. If you like to use SketchUp, look into what kind of modeling technique does SketchUp use. You know, I will leave that to you to determine, let's say, modeling technique offered by software. Right, of your choice. Now you might find other things to discuss, but when you're doing your presentation, it should not be long. So you don't necessarily need to go into unnecessary things. You want to just stick to the main thing. What are the types of techniques? And the benefit to architecture, you want to kind of keep that conversation tight. Then you guys need to come up with some questions, right? So for the sake of your classmates, don't make the questions too hard. Like a very complicated word that we would not remember, you know? But at the same time, the question that you ask should prove that the person was listening to your presentation. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, so next is Topic 2, what are the advantages and disadvantages of real-time versus offline rendering? All right, so rendering can basically be split in 2 types. But then maybe you have to start with, do you guys know what rendering is? I'm going to throw that question out to the actual team members, right? So persons in group 2, Tara Fisher, right? Rordan. Maken. You know, what do you guys think rendering is?
Sir, I think it probably could be like adding the layers to the base of a drawing or the starting of a project. Like adding different layers to complete it. Like the colors, the different textures, any other thing like that to complete the drawing.
Cool. So that should be one of the first things you ask. What is rendering? Right? I hope you guys are taking notes, right? This is my notes, you know, this is not your notes, right? So you can't ask me for it. It's only fair, right? Because I wrote it. All right, cool. And then we're going to offline and real time. I don't know, maybe the term offline might be new to you, but I think you might have come into contact with the term real time. Anybody in the class knows what real time rendering is? Real time rendering.
Can I guess?
Most definite, yes.
So is the case where everything that you add continuously allows for the model to be rendered?
All right. I think I know where you're going with it. It's meaning it's rendered instantly. That's what you're saying? All right. It's rendered in real time. Right? That sounds like one of those trick answers you give in an exam when you're not sure what it is and you just write it to get some points. But it does make sense because it says real time, right? That means as you think it's supposed to happen. Right? Anybody else? So your answer is along the road of being right. Anybody else?
I think it has something to do with like the frame per render or the amount of frames per render to achieve the best quality or something like that.
All right, cool. So frame has to do with how smooth the renderings are. It has something to do with real time. Certainly, if frames are being presented to you in quick succession, then an image would appear to be smooth. I don't know if you did that trick in high school or primary school where you draw a figure on a page and flip between the pages and the image looks like it's moving. So each one of those pages are like frames, right? So it does have something to do with frames. Well, let me throw out the opposite question. If real time is instant, what do you think offline is? Anybody?
So offline research, it renders after you finish, like saving change.
Offline would be like what?
Like after you finish making the changes and you can get a preview afterward. It's not while you're working on it.
That answer is pretty close. So what is real time and what is offline, right? So yeah. I think if I combine all the answers together, one of them obviously as you work it's being rendered and the other one seems to be rendered when you're not working, when you're offline, when you're not currently active. So your answers are heading in the right direction, right? So 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 you have offline, you have real time, and real time rendering is also called online rendering, which is only fitting because you have offline, so you must have online. And real time rendering is pretty much like computer games if you think about it. When you change a wall height, you want to see that rendered. It's the same thing when you shoot a character in a Call of Duty game. You want to see the person die in the game just the same, right? So it's real time, right? And offline renderings are more things that you put down for hours and let it render. All right. So that's just a general. I just literally grabbed that from Wikipedia. It's not my job to do the research. It is topic 2 group members. So you guys, this is just a general understanding of what it is. So you guys need to determine how you're going to go about looking into the advantages and disadvantages of real-time versus offline rendering, right? So already you would probably want to know what is rendering. You'd probably want to know what is offline and what is real time and what is offline. What else? What other things do you think you should look on in your research? Group 2 members. Yeah, let's see one. You guys here? What are the topics? How about wouldn't you want to see examples? All right, of offline.
Yes, sir. Like the benefits and disadvantages.
Oh, well, most definitely. Benefits of each. You definitely want to see that. And you want to know the benefits of each in architecture, right? Because remember that, rendering is not just used in architecture, it's used in movies and video games and all of these things. So you want to keep your answer within the realm of architecture. You start wide and you work your way down. What about places that use offline and real-time rendering? What firms use each? Is there a firm that uses offline rendering for their renders? It would be good to know what firms do it. Maybe even best if you could find what the local firms use, right? Maybe there's a firm locally, somebody at the firm, ask them, which one they use, which one they like. All right. There's another topic. I'll give you a hint. In the last group, the last thing that we discussed was modeling techniques offered by software of your choice. So, hint. What other topic do you think you should look on?
Sorry, sir. I had to step away for a second. Could you repeat the question?
I was asking what other topic. So, in the interest of time, what about the software, right? What software? supports offline rendering and what supports real time, right? That's definitely something that I think you guys should look into, right? And right, and I mean, if you think about it, think about when you guys are doing your design studio, all right? You need to show rendered images. So what kind of rendering are you using? You know, what kind of rendering does the architecture student use? Does students prefer more offline or online? Right? You should probably look into that, like the critical uses of them. Because at the end of the day, they need to achieve a particular purpose. You know, why would you want to use an offline rendering, or why would you want to use online? So I'm sure that both of them have disadvantages, right? So you'd probably want to look into the disadvantages of each, because that would tie into what are the advantages. Why would a student or a firm want to use an offline renderer versus an online one? What do you guys think? Topic
As
2
in,
member.
why they would use an offline one instead of an online one?
Right, yeah, why would you? I mean, these are programs that you guys use every day. Yeah.
I mean, probably, let's see. I don't know, maybe you have more control, because I know in, like, when you use V-Ray or Lumion, it's different from when you use like A30, is it A301 or something like that? I think Jalil would know what it is. You have more control and you actually see the elements changing in front of you. You can make those minute adjustments. You can stop the render at any time and adjust. Versus the online one, you'd probably have to wait for the process to finish and then.
Alright, that's a good point. So that begs the question, why would one want to use an offline renderer? I mean, I'm sure there must be reasons, why? Right? I mean, or else they would just stop selling. Like, you know, V-Ray wouldn't exist. But V-Ray is still making new. V-Ray is an offline renderer. But they're right. So
and
why
also it enables you to do your work anywhere, I guess. Because some places you're not gonna have, like for example, if we're traveling from our homes on the bus to school, and let's say we have crit or something and we need our renders done, we can actually do it in the bus on our laptops. Versus if we didn't have an internet connection, we couldn't use any online rendering platforms to get.
Well, parts of your answers make sense, but I'm guessing that when we hear from Tara, right, and Rodan, and who is the other person in the group again? And Liliandra, then we will know some more about it. All right? And hopefully when they throw the questions at Dante, he can answer. Right, Dante?
So naturally.
Say again?
I said yes, sir, naturally.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So those are the two that we're going to look on for today. All right. And as I say, I'm going to try to spread this out so that, you know, throughout the classes, we can just have a short discussion. It's supposed to be a discussion, even though I'm speaking 90% of the time, but it is supposed to be a discussion. I hope both groups are taking notes, right? Because these are some of the things that we believe that you should be looking at, amongst other things that you might find when you uncover what it is. All right. We'll create a timetable for the presentation, so you can look out for that. But in the meantime, please make sure that you are, all right. Please make sure that you guys are there present for whenever we discuss your topic. If you miss the discussion, then you're just on your own. All right. Okay. Oh, right. I did say I wanted to show you guys something really interesting. All right. This is a model that was created using a type of modeling. I'm not going to give it away because Tara is supposed to tell me the different types of modeling, right? I'm not supposed to tell. Why isn't this clicking? Okay. Oh Lord. Okay, for some reason you don't want to. No, brother. Think it might be frozen there. Okay, let's open another window. All right, here we go. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to find back that folder. There we go. And oops, we then gone into the wrong course. There we go. That's where we're supposed to be. Share content. All right. All right. Sorry, the folder just kind of froze a while ago for some reason. And I had to find my way back to that folder. Right, we're back. Okay, so what this was a 3D model that was created of a vehicle. This was actually my vehicle during the time I attended CSA, right? These are blueprints. And you might be saying, oh, but sir, those are not blueprints. But I won't spoil the surprise. I leave topic one persons to kind of define what blueprints is in the world of 3D. But this is really pictures of that vehicle. And these are actually 2D drawings of that vehicle. I did these 2D drawings. And then these were just other little details of that vehicle. Those drawings were put together to generate a 3D model of that vehicle. So, there we go. Good to know it's still open, right? So this is the actual 3D model of the vehicle. You can see those are the polygons that were used to create it. And a particular modeling technique was used to create this model. And I'm going to be looking forward to topic one to tell me what type of modeling technique, right? And speaking of rendering now, it was an offline method that was used to render this project. I seem to have, I don't see the rendered images in this folder. I have them somewhere else. Let's see. Okay. All right, here they are. So I think they are here. Right. They are kind of it was a long time ago, so I don't have all of the images, but I do have some of it. So right, so it was an offline method that was used to render these images. Here they are. I need to also place them in the folder as well. Right. So this is what the rendered images look like. That's the model there, and that is the image that was used. So that is a type of rendering. Oh, this was some details that was rendered here. So everything down to the nuts and bolts. So that was fun. And I usually show this project in 3D modeling class. Not that you guys are creating vehicles, but you are using 3D modeling techniques to create things in 3D. All right, so that kind of ends our presentation discussion. I hope you guys took notes. What we'll be using the last half an hour or hour, we did say that we try to keep this class kind of short, as we're trying to double up with a lot of the things here. Now, if we look on the timeline, just give me a second here to bring it up. Come on, thing. Oh. Finally, there we go. Right, so we'll be starting checkpoint 2 today, and we'll be starting it with the 3D modeling component. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to remember that on the handout, our tutorial videos. We're going to look on one of them now. A demonstration that I'll do, and the idea is that you guys should ask the questions that you need to ask now while we are in class, because usually when you go back and you watch the videos, there is no way for you to ask questions, right? So now would be a good time for you to follow up with those questions. All right, so we're gonna look on how do you get going with checkpoint 2.
Introducing SpeechAlone.
All right. This thing is just giving me a little trouble here.
Introducing Speechlo, the most natural sounding text that didn't form out of the original text.
All right. Yeah, just getting a little technical trouble. It is sorting itself out. Just give it a minute. Oh, all right. Now you choose to work. Okay. Hey, what's happening with the...
Introducing Speechlo, the most
Finally. Okay, guys. You guys are seeing this video, right? Okay, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is... Guys, you there? Open a new project. We're going to choose the architectural template.
Yes, sir.
All right. And when that comes up... Now, what we have here is when we're going to start off with our building our foundations. All right. Now this is done using Revit because we should be using Revit to do this this project. And usually at the end of every checkpoint, the Revit file is also collected. All right, guys. So we're going to be using Revit to do this aspect here. You'll notice that all the levels, some default levels, sites, and elevations have already been created. These pointers that you see in here are actually for the elevation markers. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our levels according to how the design of your island getaway is laid out, right? So we're going to take an elevation view, and you'll notice that Revit gives us 2 levels by default, right? And right now we're using the metric. So the general idea is that our site, let's look at the foundation of our site. If we establish a datum, and let's say that this datum is our ground floor. And the idea is that for every single item located within our foundation, we are going to put a level for that item. So our ground floor would represent the finished floor level, right? There would need to be, for example, the thickness of your floorboards, right? So let's say for this project we'll use tongue and groove. So there'll be another layer here, another level here, and that level will be the tongue and groove level. And if we look at the basic layout, you may have some floor joists below that, and you may also have some sort of footing, and that would need to sit on a foundation pad. And then the earth would be maybe around there, and depending on the nature of the foundation, it may be a pile foundation, so you may need to have, show your piles going down below the ground like that. In any case, what we are looking on here are a few levels, so let's highlight that. So we have the base of our footing, and that's there. That's the base of our footing. Then we have the top of our footing. We also have the top of the foundation pile. Then we also have our ground level. So let's extend those out. Then we also have the top of our floor joists, and then we have our finished floor level. Now everyone's design might vary slightly, but all of these need to be layers that are identified within our drawing. Alright, so does everybody understand how levels work in Revit, right? We would have been introduced to Revit last year. Do you remember? Have you ever forgot? Right.
Yeah.
So the very first thing that you want to be doing when you're starting your project, your checkpoint 2, is you want to be setting up your levels first. Now, you see how I have this sketch here? Everyone should have a schematic drawing. And from that schematic drawing, you can get an idea of where these levels are, right? And, everybody's foundation might be different, but at minimum, you want to have all of these levels mapped out because it would just make modeling way easier. Sorry, not layers, but levels. So if we go back to Revit now, we notice that we have 2 levels. So we're going to delete one of the levels because it's going to be a single floor building, and we're going to call this our ground. Finish floor. And yes, we want to rename the other levels. Now what we want to do is to have, let's correct that. What we want to do is to have our other levels as what we call empty levels, right? So those levels are just going to be used for referencing, and you won't necessarily see them come on the list of levels that you see in here on your left. So to get empty levels, all we need to do is just copy this level. So we're going to copy this level down, and we're going to go down about the thickness of our tongue and groove board is going to be about 50 millimeters. Right? Then what we want to do is to change the scale of our drawing. So we're going to make that a little smaller just so we can see these levels here. And these empty levels, what I want us to do is to unlock it and have them be shorter than our main level. So we're going to call this level here, this is going to be, according to our sketch, this level is here, which is the top of the floor joist, right? So this top of floor joist, and we could even choose a smaller scale so that can be smaller just for our purposes. So top of floor joist, then we're going to go down another level again, and this will be top. We're going to copy that first, and this will be top of footing. Right, and the distance here would be the height of the floor joist, if you can see here. So this will be top of footing. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to put a dimension line. So we're going to just choose dimension there and drop a dimension here, and I'm going to assume the height of this is going to be about 200 millimeters. There we go. Then we're going to now have the top of the bottom of footing, we could call it that way. So we're going to call it bottom of footing, right? And what I'm doing, I'm just copying these, and to copy, I'm just doing CO, and then we're going to call this base of foundation pad. Right, and this distance, this might vary depending on the height of your project. So I'm good with imperial, so I'm going to make this, I'm going to click on this and make this about maybe 4 feet. So I can write 4 feet, and it will actually change it to millimeters for me. So it's about 1200 millimeters. Then the base of my pad, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make mine about 18 inches. So click on that, 18 inches, which is about 450. All right. So pretty much we've set out most of our levels. Let's make sure that these are aligned. All right, so this should be the only one that's out. Then on the top of our finished floor, so at this point what we're going to do is to use our reference image, and if we look here, we see where we have our reference image. So far we've drawn the footing, and we've put in most of these levels to match what we have here. So we have up to that point, that is the top of the footing, and we actually have a member that's actually right here. Right, so that's that member that we're seeing there. That's actually before we get to our level with our rafters, right? So we're using this as a reference to create our foundation. So we are gonna ensure that we have, this one is called a bearer in this particular drawing. So after we have the foundation, we're going to have the bearer, and then we have the joist. So we're actually going to edit this one, and we're going to call this top of bearer joist, which in this case wouldn't be 200. This would be about 100. And then on top of that now, we would have our floor joist, top of floor joist. And on top of that, we would have our finish, our ground finish floor. So the top of the floor joist here is going to be 200. So we're going to click on that. And then the top of the finished floor, well, that will be about 50 as we had before. So we click on the top one. Now we're going to make that 50. All right. So if we look back at our reference, we have space for the bearer joist, and then we also have the floor joist there. All right, so now what we need to do is to start modeling our footing, right? And the designs may vary, but we're going to use a default footing. Now I'm going to switch to our ground finish floor level, right? Notice that you're not seeing the other levels here because those are empty levels which are used only for referencing. So the first thing we're going to do is put an outline for the base of our building. So we are going to use some reference lines for that. So we're going to use a reference planes as a guide to know where our building footprint will be. So we're going to go to here and we're going to choose reference plane, and well, I'm just going to draw out my building like that, and I'm just going to go over and edit it. So I believe we are using 6 meter. That is my footprint. Yours may vary slightly, so we're going to put this at 6,000. Between here and here is going to be 6,000, and that's about it. So this is pretty much the size of our building there, right? And we know we're going to have our footing inside this area. So the first thing that we want to do is draw one of our foundation footing, right? And we're going to be using this as our kind of guide, and we can also use our sketch as well, right? I'm actually using OneNote here with my tablet so that I can be able to sketch this out. So you guys should have a sketch that you're using as your guide, and we're going to now model this foundation footing. So the first thing we're going to do is, let's assume that the foundation footing is in this area, right? So just to kind of map out our game plan, we are going to be basically drawing our footings like that, and like that, and like that, and like that. And essentially that bearer that we saw earlier would be actually running across these areas like that. As a matter of fact, if this is our building footprint, then we would actually be wanting to move our foundation footing over a little bit. So our footing, we would actually want to be like about that, so that the center of our footing is there and the bearer member would run along like that, so that it is on our footprint. So that is just a quick kind of overview of what we are aiming to do, right? So we're going to draw the footing as a model in place. So we're going to go over to component, we're going to go to model in place, and we are going to be doing the foundation footing as well. You actually have structural foundations that's there. So we're going to choose OK. I'm going to call this footing, and the type of modeling that we'll be doing will be in using the extrusion, right? So we're gonna assume that the footing will be about 450 millimeters wide. So we're going to use our reference plane to kind of guide where that footing will go. So generally our footing wants to be about 150 from this line. We're going to draw, we're going to create, and we go back to reference plane. We're going to draw another one here. So we're going to make that about 150, right? And we know that this needs to be about 450 offset. So we're going to click that and we'll copy. And we're going to make that 450. We can just type that in. And we're going to do the same here, copy, and make this 450. And then from that, we know that the top of our footing, if we go here, that we're going to be looking on that. We're going to be copying this up, about 150. there and copying this over 150. All right. Oops. Sorry, we're going to use reference plane, not reference line. We're copying that over 150. All right, so this is the center of our footing. Of course, nothing is in 3D yet. These are just simple guidelines that we're going to use. So to actually start modeling, we're going to go to create, and we're going to use the extrusion command. And this is going to carry us into sketch mode. So we're going to draw the base of that extrusion. So we're going to just use the rectangle tool, and we are going to be drawing on a particular level. So this part is important. Remember, we created those levels. So we're going to set our levels before we start modeling. Click that and we go set levels, and we want to actually be drawing this on the bottom of foundation pad, right? Because this is the bottom of the foundation pad. So we choose OK, and then we're going to be drawing this like that. That's great. Now what we can actually do is we can look on this in 3D, so we can go to our 3D view. And that's it there, and we want to choose OK. And that's our extrusion. So if we look back in that view that we had, you can actually see, I think we had the east view, north view, right? So we can actually see here where we have the base of the foundation pad and the bottom of footing. So this is actually this high, like that. So this was the purpose of us setting up the levels, right? So if we go back to 3D, that is our foundation footing. So next, we are going to create another extrusion now, which is going to be on top of this. So to do that, we're going to go back to our plan view. So we created this already. So we are going to actually go to create, and we're going to create another extrusion. And we're going to set that now. So that level needs to be at the bottom of footing. And we're going to put that, we're going to use the rectangle tool and draw that like that. And to set the height, we can go back to, we can actually go to our, we can choose OK, and then go to our 3D view. That's here. And that's our pad, that's our footing. So we can actually go to our north view here, and we can make that height. Right? So far we're okay. Let's change this to shaded view. We have the footing, and we have this up to the top of footing. Now for that bearer joist which runs on top of this. So remember that we're using our guide, which is here, and we're going to be using this bearer joist here. So we're going to assume that this bearer joist is probably 100 by 100 millimeters, and that's going to sit within this here, because this level here is our bearer joist level, top of bearer joist. Now we don't want that to become a part of the footing model, so we're going to choose OK. And now if you click this, you notice that this is one model by itself. I'm not sure where I'm getting the feedback. Probably has something to do with the feedback from the laptop that I used to record it, so try and ignore. So if we look in our 3D view, you actually see the model there, and if you click on it, it will tell you that it is a structural foundation that we have created, which is great. So let's go back to our ground floor, and notice that we're not seeing it here, and that's because it's actually below our ground plane, right? And to adjust that, we are going to go over to our view range, and our view range is simply telling us that we need to be able to see our view depth. We need to be able to see about to find what this figure is. We could use a north view. If this is our ground floor, we need to be able to see all the way down to this level. So if we actually use a dimension line, we need to see at least 2,000 millimeters below the ground level. So let's go back to our ground floor, and let's go to view range, and we need to see 2,000 millimeters as our view depth. And we also need the bottom of our view to be 2,000 millimeters, which is really negative 2,000. So this doesn't have to be 2,000. There we go. So now notice that you see the footing, because you're now able to see 2,000 millimeters below our ground plane, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put in that member that runs around the edge, which is our bearer. And before we do that, what we want to do is copy this footing. Now we're not just going to copy it, we are going to actually make this member into a group by clicking the group icon here, and we're going to call this footing group. And the reason we're making it a group, and I'll show you that in a sec, so we're going to copy it. I use the shortcut CO, so I'm going to copy it from here and put it over here. And then we're going to select both of these. We're going to copy these from here, place that over here. Now, the fact that we made it a group means that if we needed, for any reason, to edit this group, so we can double click this and we can change that. And what happens if we change it, this for example, then notice they will all change, right? Which is great. So we're going to undo that because we actually don't want to change it. There we go. All right. So now we need to run that member along the edges here. So we're going to go to now component and model in place again. But this time it's asking us to save, so it's a good idea to hit save now. So now that we've saved, in creating this member, we are going to actually make this member a type of structural framing, right? So we're going to choose OK, and we're going to call this bearer member. And this member, remember, is going to be 100 by 100, and we're going to let it run on the outer section of the foundation, right, which is what is happening here. So to do that, we are going to make it an extrusion, and we're going to actually have one member starting from here up and over by 100 and down again. Of course, you could also use the rectangle sketch to do that. Great. Oh, we actually need to place this on a level, so we need to select that and choose set the work plane, and this level needs to be the top of footing, right? And the top of the footing would be here. Alright, so we're going to choose OK, and we can look at that in 3D and see it's at the top of the footing, and we're going to choose yes for that, So we have that member going across, which is great. And now we need to have this member going across the other areas. So what we're going to do is copy this using our 3D view over to here, and we're going to copy it one more time, and we're going to use our rotate. I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees, and we're going to move this, shortcut MV. So we're going to move this all the way to here, land that there, and then we are going to adjust this to line up there and copy this using here, you can see that, and paste it, well, let's use a top view for this. Good. We're going to move it there and paste it there. Alright, so we have now drawn that member there now, so we're going to choose finish, and there is that member there. And next, so we could turn on our shaded view, and we can put shadows there so we can see what that looks like. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Then next, now we are going to put our floor joists going across in a selected direction. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go to our ground floor, and we're going to go to architecture. We're going to go to model in place, and we could also use this model as a structural framing. It is a type of structural framing. I'm going to call these floor joists. Now we're going to create one joist first, so we're going to use the extrude command, and our joist is going to measure, that's these here, so we want to make it 50 by 200. So let's draw the first joist at the end. So we're going to allow that joist to be land right here, so we're going to use this tool this time, and let's use here. So we're going to go across by 50, and we're going to come down like that, and go across and go back up. And of course this level, so we're going to select, we're going to select this joist, and we're going to set this level to top of bearer joist, right? So remember, that is the top of the bearer joist. That's why we choose that level. We're going to choose OK. We can look on that in 3D, and we see where that's now going to be on top here. Oh, actually our bearer joist is too tall, so we need to fix that. So let's choose OK, and let's go back. Let's choose OK again. We're going to go back into our bearer joist here. We're going to double click that to go into that, and we are going to actually edit these guys. So we're going to select all of them holding Control, and we're going to set the extrusions end to, I believe it was 100, right? So it's 100 by 100, apply, there we go. There we go. So if we look on our north view, we are going in alignment with everything. So top of bearer joist is at the top, and we need to of course make our joist here, which it says top of joist. So we are going to go into our 3D view, and we're going to select that, and we're going to make this member here, edit it by double clicking, and we are going to make this 200. Alright, now we are going to now create a array so that we can have members going all the way across like that. So we're going to use the array tool, and the way how this works, it's really simple. You click the array tool here, you choose a point that you want to use as your starting or reference point. So let me choose here. Before I choose that, I want to say that I want to choose the last member. So I'm going to choose the first member, which is this, and the last member, which is that, and then I will choose how much divisions I would want. So to do that, I'm going to choose this point here, and then choose that point here. And I'm going to want, let's try 15 members. See what that looks like. So I can put 15 here. So I'm going to choose, press enter. And I can always change this amount. Let's see, if I go to the ground floor and I look at the distances, I see where my distance is about 425. That's okay. That's actually okay. And the great thing about using this method is that I can change the amount anytime. So I'm just going to choose finish, and then I have my 4 members here. So let's look back at our reference image. Next, we want to have our actual flooring, and notice the flooring comes before the bottom plate or sole plate. So the flooring in our case is going to be tongue and groove boards. So we're going to do the same thing again, and we're going to have the flooring coming this way. Now, if we look at the profile of a tongue and groove board, if we go back here, we use OneNote. We can place all our notes in OneNote, so that's great. You know, so this is the general shape of a tongue and groove board, and if we think about using some measurements, we can actually use this as a great reference. So now we're going to model our tongue and groove boards.
All right, guys.
Are you still here? Are you alive?
Yes.
Okay. Glad to see you're still here. Do we know most of the things that were just discussed? Some of them?
I'll say about yes, most sides, most of it.
Okay. Perhaps some of us won't be as familiar. Also, I didn't notice it with the recording when I was doing it, but there is some feedback. Are you guys hearing well, it's the computer fan spinning in the feedback. Are you hearing it? Were you guys hearing that? Were you?
No, sir, not really.
Oh, okay. All right. So that is to create the foundation section, right? Now, the other half of this tutorial, I'm gonna direct you guys to the links that are on the handout sheet. All right. So again, if you go to the website here, you bring up the handout sheets, foundation and tutorial boards in Revit. I have placed them for you there, and these links should be active now. Okay, more ads. All right, there we go. So the part that deals with the adding of these floorboards here, you guys can watch this tutorial video to get the part 2. All right, guys.
Yes.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. And with that said, we have gotten to the end of this class, right? So our next class will be on Monday, right? I'm going to take over your practical class for next week. We're going to do a little in-class activity, and then that's it, right? So I don't think it will take up the full 3 hours. And remember, everyone has to come to that class, because I won't be able to come to the next tutorial session, because that's going to be clashing with something else. All right, guys. So
Yes, sir.
So I will see you on Monday. All right. All right. Are there any questions that needed to be asked before we go? No questions going once. No questions going twice.
Sir, when is the checkpoint due?
Where is the what?
When is the checkpoint due? Like when is it due?
I could tell you, but instead I'm going to tell you to check the website and check the timeline that is on the top of the website, and look for checkpoint 2, and you shall see when it is due. All right. I want you to get used to checking the timelines, because guess what? Things happen, and sometimes checkpoints change. So sorry, deadlines change. So I'm not going to put it on the handout, and then that handout is a PDF and it changed. So all deadlines are on the course timeline, which is at the top of the website. All right.
All right, sir.
All right. Good. Any more questions going once? Any more questions going twice? And we're gone. All right. I'll see you next week.